appreciate you, Chaz. It's been a minute, and I'm sure there's a bunch of different topics that we could touch on today. Um,
Oh,
and
we definitely gonna talk about a bunch because there's so much going on, and we have different perspectives. You know what I'm saying? We have different
right,
outlooks.
right.
You know what I'm saying, on things that are going on in America right now. And the first story that I want to jump into is Gaza. You know, I actually not even so much about Gaza, but well, it is because Gaza is under attack. It's under a genocide, um, and I know you are more informed about more worldly issues because I've learned a lot from you when it comes to certain conflicts, and then even had to do a little research um, as to why certain conflicts are going on and why there's such a narrative
Hmm.
uh, around those. And I see that just like we were talking about before we came on here was about what's going on at Columbia University.
Right.
Uh, and but a lot of things that I didn't know that there was a similar event, the same thing that they're doing now was done in 1968.
Hmm.
Um, and but before we get
And we don't
into
learn.
right, before we get into the history, I want you to educate the people um, on what's going on because I know that occupations and protests um, have gone on for years about certain things, and um, right now we're asking for a ceasefire. We're asking for Biden to put his big boy shorts on. We're asking for our Congress to stop funding a genocide. You know what I'm saying? Because we literally have people here at home that we're forgetting about and not taking care of while we're
Hmm.
giving billions to we don't even know what we're funding right now.
Well, we're funding Israel, and we're funding a genocide. We're funding Ukraine. Uh, we are funding the imperialist machine, and that's what really is what this comes down to: is the empire's interest in keeping this machine churning, and what you see happening around the world and the lack of attention that we're getting. I'm hearing something about universal health care for all. Israel is getting universal health care. Where's our health care? And I'm not sure if this is true, so I want to find that source. But uh, if anyone knows if that's true or not, please inform me and let me know, because I would like to know if that really is true. But the point here is, on my show, The Colonizer's Coffin, we get into the issues going on around the world that can be traced back to America, and the conflicts that arise because of it. People talk about the symptoms, people talk about the aftermath, or they'll talk about immigration, but they don't talk about the root causes of it. The root cause is us. The root cause is us literally living, existing, and breathing. Uh, just by living, existing, and breathing in America, your tax-paying dollars are killing people in other countries. And Gaza is not the first and only place. It's been happening. We could trace it back to the invention of all these different agencies within America, all the different shadow governments that exist. It's not just about our politicians. It's not just about the government. It's about private entities and interests that essentially actually pull the strings. Why is it that it took one person behind the curtain to actually inform the world that we killed over 1 million people in the war on terror? We would have never known the atrocities that our own people committed over there in the name of the war on terror, when this whole thing was made up to begin with. And so we're seeing the same thing play out with Palestine, except it's playing out right before our eyes. At the time of the war on the Middle East, prior to about 20 years ago, at this point, there wasn't surveillance and social media to be able to inform people all across the world of what those people were going through, but they went through the same kind of stuff, except we were on the ground doing it. And it was private mercenaries committing atrocious crimes. We're now witnessing it happen in real time. And so you've got campuses across the nation, really, and uh, actions happening all around the world, including Israel, mind you. There are Jewish people in Israel that are uh, demanding a ceasefire and demanding that yet Netanyahu be removed from his seat and that the everything going on cease. So you've got people all around the world standing up for Palestinians and seeing that what is going on is clearly a genocide. It's clearly a genocide. Um, and so, yes, what happened in the 60s is currently happening today at Columbia University. Students being removed from occupying their campus, they pay tuition to be able to have a right to free speech and, protest what they believe in. Isn't those some of the pillars and foundations of having, a college life style, is to stand up for the things that you believe in? We would think so, especially given that this is supposedly America and the land of the free, right? But history has also shown us that if you are standing on the side of the people, standing for the people that have been oppressed, that you are likely going to face some kind of pushback. And that is what we're witnessing right now. No different than any other time in history, but that means that we have to do something different. I also think, one last thing, that the time and age that we're in, with the tools that we have a chance to really change how we respond to things for once, right? We've got these tools at our hands, and we should use these tools to unite, to inform, and to take action, most of all. So, free Palestine. If you want any more information on what exactly is going down, check out my page, The Colonizer's Coffin. We have a page on Facebook. We're on YouTube under the Leon Block channel. And we also are on Twitter and Twitch. Definitely give us a ring if you've got any information or you want to share your piece, and talk about these colonizers, the system, and how we bring it down. So yeah, I'm sure there are stories that we can get into, and get into this situation with Colombia a little more. Do you have any kind of I shared a lot of stuff on Twitter just recently,
I do
of
have some
different
video
actions going
of
down.
today, um, of because it is trending. Columbia University is
Yeah.
trending, but here is some video from the last couple days from that is Scent Defender, open source intelligent monitor focused on Europe and conflicts across the world. Um, this is their page. This is the video.
I do want to say quick, uh, is that there is a we talk about, why is TikTok under siege, and why is it going to get banned, and why are they moving so hard to get it banned when we can't even get, a whole healthcare for all pushed through, and different
Right, right.
bills and stuff passed that we really do need to get passed, but they're pushing for TikTok so quickly. Think about why. What it really comes down to is the youth being informed of the truth, and everyone spreading news via social media. Think about it, how we are here right now spreading information. They don't like that. They don't want that, and they see that as the biggest threat of all to them, and they've actually spoken about it. They've openly said it. And if you want more information, I shared it to our playlist on the Leon Block titled Content for Web Shows Here. There's a video. Shout out to Second Thought and First Thought for coming up with this content. They get into detail as to why TikTok is an issue. It's because the youth are spreading information, the truth about what's actually going down in Palestine, and why it's so important that we stand up for our rights too, but also for the rights of Palestinians, because we are directly contributing to it. Not only that, we're contributing to our own downfall if we do not stand up to what's going on. We're taking away our own rights, or we're watching our rights being taken away from us. We have the right to freedom of speech. So TikTok must exist. It is not a China or Chinese issue. It is a censorship issue amongst generations. They do not want youth being informed of the truth and us having the power. They don't want us to have the future that we deserve. And they've literally outright said this, and you can check that this is not a political issue. It is not a left and right issue. It is a generational issue. Think about how older generations were propagandized through TV, through magazines. That doesn't
See,
affect us anymore.
and that's the stuff that they don't want to talk about, man.
Right.
And that's what frustrates me is
Oh, well, it's
because
starting to be talked about now.
oh, right, right. No, I'm just saying of like, oh, I do agree that there, conversations are being had, you know, but I still see the people that are making change, that
Yeah.
are making laws, that are voting, because that's where that's the one thing that I think people fail to realize is that we do have a voice. And it's not just of going out and protesting
Right.
and do, you know what I'm saying? It's about getting involved. It's about understanding how politics works, understanding how civics works, understanding how the system is allowed to do it judicially,
You know,
legislatively, executively.
You
You
know
know
what
what
I
I'm saying?
believe is taking both of everything that you said and combining it. So, initially going to protest, that gets you interested, right? But
Right.
discipline is important. So, educating yourself through all the means of which you just expressed, and then taking that and forming an action is what we need. Is people uniting together and having a communicated disciplined action here and there. And that is what we're starting to see with things like this at Colombia, with them blocking ships from taking off from ports, chaining themselves to different things,
Shutting down
clogging up
airports,
highways. What's that?
shutting down airports.
Exactly. And strategic places.
Right.
There are certain factories that we were talking about the situation in Scranton the other day with a weapons factory that makes weapons that we know are being used in Israel right now to bomb and attack Palestinians or defend Israel against Iran and certain other countries. And it's being made right here in the USA. So when these children are getting hit with white phosphorus gas, it's coming from Pennsylvania.
Right.
And that warehouse mysteriously got set on fire the other day. Uh, and I'm not saying violence. I don't condone violence, but I also condone self-defense and proactive action against our country and the atrocities that we can commit. Uh,
Well,
because
because
our
let me ask
names are
you a
attached to
question,
it.
right?
Yeah,
You know, because you say people will take that what you just said and be like, oh, they want people to burn stuff down, and
right.
that's not what we're saying, right? But what we are
Correct.
saying And let me say this because these are my words. Um, the only way you ever get change, and history has shown us how to get change, is a
Is
revolution.
violence. Right.
And see, I want to take it a step further because it's not even just about violence, right? It's about self protection, self defense, because we come
That
out
part.
here to be peaceful. This is
I
about
think our
peaceful disruption
I think our society has been programmed into being docile, so much so that resistance is seen as
as
just
violent. Right,
not even violence, because violence justified is resistance, right?
right. No,
But
I'm saying though is
but
that
just seeing it as outright disgust or abhorrent behavior, when self-defense is not necessarily abhorrent when you understand all of the context and circumstances given doing so, right? Because people are so quick to say, what about what Hamas is doing, without understanding the context of why Hamas exists in the first place. Why did
right,
the civil rights movement exist in the first place? Why did the Black Panther and the Black Panther movement and party exist in the first place as a right of self-defense? Why was Martin Luther King why did Martin Luther King speak up and stand up and exist in the first place? Because Black
right.
people were mistreated.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
so this is the equivalent, it's the same thing, but the current environment makes it harder for people to grasp that simple concept that it's the same thing,
Right.
a different year.
Yeah. And that's what, because people will be like, well, there's all these nonprofits. See,
Right.
that's the problem because the movements that actually did a dent in our system, the government didn't control. And when the government couldn't control them, you know what they did? They they labeled them terrorist groups,
Yep.
or they were Marxist, or they were militant. At the end of the day, all they were fighting for was desegregation for Black Americans.
And you know what, if you follow the trails, you'll see that there's a pattern of how they villainize anyone that goes against the whole narrative and disrupts the
Right,
system. It doesn't matter if it's entertainment, or if it's the ordinary citizen, or if it's a movement, political party, leaders. It doesn't matter who it is, and if they can't villainize you, uh and if they can buy you out, they will buy you out and make you work for them,
right.
whether
And
you
that's
know it
the
or
one
not.
what people don't even understand is you have to look what you have to do to be a nonprofit, right? And that's why the Black Panthers, why Malcolm, and why so many other great revolutionaries never fed into the system because they knew once the system had a control over you, right? You can't do the things that you want to do. And I'm going to tell you this right now. You ask any nonprofit if they can really fight for the liberation of Black people, if they can really fight for the liberation movements that
Right.
they're fighting for.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make
It don't
sense.
make sense. Yep.
And that's what we got to see. It's the same thing with these conversations that I'm seeing on Twitter about church. Should church be a place where we have political conversations? And I'm going to say yes, to a degree, because for the simple fact of there's a church of every religion, damn near on every community in America, right? They should be the biggest backbones of our communities, the backbone. But
I
because we got,
agree with you. uh let's talk about culture for a second, because
yep,
one example, and I'm going to bring this up as a parallel to the Black experience because we're both people of color here.
yep,
I think that what we saw with the uncommitted wave happening in Michigan, with the Arab communities, plural communities, because not
yep,
all Arabs are the same. They are not a monolith. However, they are
right,
definitely in agreement on the fact that they will not be a pawn in the system's game. And if there's something that Black folk can take away from looking at our brethren over there and seeing how they stood together and said, we will not be used when our family are being slaughtered, we need to take consideration and consider that neither one of these parties see us as anything that they can necessarily use except for a number of a vote. And to be honest, they don't even care about our vote when they have
Right.
so many other demographics that they can utilize and use and chew out and spew the same way that they did us. And at this point, they frankly, they don't need us. They want everyone else around us, which further brings black people down to the bottom of the barrel, if you ask me. So going back to what happened with the uncommitted vote, that did make a dent.
I
It made
see.
waves.
You know what? Thank
It
you,
hit
because
the
I was just.
news.
What's crazy is while you were just sitting there talking about that, I found a video that from Michigan that why they started the uncommitted.
Voters last night sent a clear message to President Biden that he needs to call for an immediate permanent ceasefire.
It was a major political test for Biden, who's faced growing pressure to call for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza.
And it marks the first time Biden will lose delegates in his re-election bid. The group spent the past 3 weeks phone banking and canvassing to encourage voters to cast an uncommitted ballot.
And they brought in groups from all across the country to help support the effort.
There's a lot of things that, had me hesitant to vote for him again this November, but definitely this has kind of sealed it that, if he doesn't change his ways, I most likely won't. I won't vote for him.
But what's next for the group?
On Wednesday, Listen to Michigan told reporters they plan to work with supporters in Minnesota and Washington State.
But they're willing to work with everyone in their coalition to send Biden a message.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, because they definitely did come to Minnesota. And it was actually a big, because people were making fun of it. And my thing of it is, and I agree, right? A lot of people voted uncommitted
Mm-hmm.
in the primary.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to November, are people still going to vote Genocide Joe because it's still the lesser of, they feel that that is still the lesser of two evils.
Right. I want people to remember that. Let me start here, right? So why should the Palestinian genocide resonate with us, and why should we care about it? It's not just simply because we are literally tacked onto it every day that we exist because our money that we work hard for goes to it. It's also the fact that our struggle as Americans and fighting against the things that we deserve as people and fighting tooth and nail to have the things that we deserve as people, basic rights like shelter, clean water, free water, having rights like women's health care and Black people not being killed by police or facing discrimination, Asians and Arabs not being discriminated against because of something that is happening across the world that Americans in our country don't understand because we are being told things that are ill-informed or not true at all. I think that we have to see ourselves in the people that are fighting for their lives every day and being starved and have nowhere to go and nowhere to escape to. They're literally being killed off one by one, thrown in mass graves with their hands bound behind their bodies. We're witnessing the Holocaust all over again. If you have compassion, you should care. But beyond that, in the struggle as a Black person, the things that we have gone through, any major civil rights so-called leader in Black American history has seen the parallels between our struggle and the struggles that Palestinians go through. Mind you, there are Black Palestinians that are going through a lot of discrimination from all sides. So if we're being discriminated here as Black Americans, if we see ourselves and every other people that are facing discrimination too, when push comes to shove, we should all be there for one another so that we can combat this system, because really it's not about race. It's about class. It's about the people at the top that are pinning everyone else against each other to get what they want. And at the end of the day, we've all got something